So I'm at the beautiful Garland Nursery, and we are going to be talking about the weather because it's going to be hot for at least a week in the future, and that affects our plants. So tell me something that we could do as a gardener to say, oh, maybe I need to pay attention to the watering on this.
Well, there's definitely several plants that are signature plants that can show the signs of stress of lack of water. So obviously watering is the first thing that you want to make sure that you remember to do, not only yourself, but the plants. I brought out a couple of the plants that I find really show signs quickly. So you can look at those if you have them in your yard, but all of the plants tend to, for example, this million bell, the leaves will curl up a little bit. Everything will kind of droop down before it gets crispy and brown if you don't water it. So, look for, like on your tomato leaves, the possibility of them, and this one's a little bigger here, it curls in and it looks like it's like, oh my God, feed me, I need water. So, water, but sometimes it's all full of water and there's nothing else you can do except putting something like shade cloth or something like that over it.
So is that just because it is simply so hot out?
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Then it would be like when you're out like at the state fair and it's really hot out and you're drinking water, but you're just thirsty still. It's the same concept. Okay.
Absolutely. I have Nicotiana, one of the bamboo, not bamboo, what am I saying to you guys? It's the, Nicotiana is the
tobacco plant.
Thank you, but I don't smoke tobacco, but. Well. Oh my gosh. Anyway, it is super fragrant, but it's one of my signature plants too that shows me that it's wilting right off the bat when it needs water. So you're going to have some of those plants in your yard that are going to show you that.
So then if you have a plant in your garden that you're calling, that's what you mean by a signature plant, so something like the tomato, or even I would think
the sweet potato vine has that bigger leaf, and it just is one of those first ones that just falls down.
So once they start to wilt,
yes,
might be time to pay attention to the water.
Yes.
Wonderful. Now also, you're going to tell us some of the things that we can do that will help protect the plants and give us information about what they need.
Sure. Erica mentioned the shade cloth, which is a great way to go to protect some of those plants that are in ground or that you can't move, that maybe you're in the very hottest part of the yard, like a south area, or if it's a gold foliaged plant like a golden maple or a golden conifer that usually is okay in the full sun, but when it gets super, super hot like it's going to be, might get some brown on it. So you could put the shade cloth.
And you don't really have to build a fancy structure for this at all.
You can drape it over it. You can even use a sheet if you wanted to do that. Or you can do like a dowel and some hooks if you have an eave right by something, and then attach this to that. So it doesn't have to be fancy or anything like that with a structure or anything. You could also take like your hanging basket or pots. Hanging basket, just move to a shadier location. Some of your smaller pots or even larger ones you could put onto a caddy, and then you could wheel into a shadier location for the week or so that it's going to be really
just
hot.
An easy way to protect them.
Yep. And then do make sure if you don't know whether your plant is wet or not, have a trusty moisture meter. These are really handy. I was out watering with my very low output hose, and I thought I'd watered long enough and pulled out a weed, and it was only wet this far down. So it's a good idea to find out, if you've gotten the water all the way through, and you can check to see whether, as you and Erica talked about, it's getting too much water. So just stick it in to the soil down probably about 6 inches if you can, and the little gauge should tell you whether it's dry or wet or in between.
And in our need to think that we have to save water because it's that time of year where water is not around, just don't water big shrubs for 15 seconds or so, because you need to get down to the roots.
Right.
What I tend to do is actually take my hose and actually don't have a handheld thing on it, just actually have the hose itself and just come out a little bit and soak for a longer period of time, because that way it's getting deeper. It's not running off. It's just soaking right down around the root ball. I do that on even some of my pots too, because otherwise you think you're just sprinkling a little on top. It isn't getting way down there. And then you have to do it less often, so you're saving water.
Saving water in the long run. Well, go ahead.
The other thing that you can do is on the cooler day or the very beginning of the warm spell, if everything in the ground is watered, well, you can put mulch down.
And that protects it too.
And that will hold that moisture in longer. Just make sure that if you're mulching like 1 to 2 inches, that when you get right up to the plant, you want to leave a little space so they can breathe.
Well, there you have it. Inevitably, every year we have a thing that's called summer, and it often gets quite hot. So these are just a few tips to help protect your garden. Don't forget to hydrate yourself as well. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Brenda.
Yay!